Holy shit. He said what?
Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media domain.
It was a dreadful thing to do and actually completely wrong. He is quite hard and harsh.
He became hypersensitive and blamed the media for the crashes of his relationships.
People like Meghan will always stay with the man if there's no better option.
What if the future of the British monarchy, an institution built on bloodlines, tradition, and history, was being questioned not because of politics, not because of war, but because of two people who turned royal duty into a Netflix pitch? That's exactly where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have dragged the crown. The same couple who once demanded the world respect their privacy somehow can't stop turning their lives into a PR circus.
Meghan is using everything for publicity and not really truly there. We know how she treats her family and friends.
When it comes to the single most important detail, who their children really are, they've given nothing but silence, staged smiles, and contradictions. Meghan strutted into the royal family like a Hollywood star, auditioning for the role of her life. And Harry followed her out of the palace like a lovesick understudy, trading centuries of tradition for California photo ops and podcast deals no one asked for. They branded themselves as victims, as rebels, as modern saints fighting against a cruel institution. Yet all they've really done is cash in on the family name while dodging the simplest expectation of all, transparency. And now with Angela Levin's bombshell raising questions about Archie and Lilibet's very parentage.
Diana treated her children. It was very important to care about people and not to think about themselves. And that money didn't matter very much. What did matter was to look after.
Their empire of excuses is crumbling. Harry's furious threats of lawsuits don't project strength. They reek of fear. Meghan's silence doesn't read as dignity. It reads as calculated avoidance. The royal couple who once thought they could outsmart the monarchy now find themselves cornered by the very thing they thought they could escape, accountability. And make no mistake, this scandal isn't just about them. It's about whether the crown itself can survive the damage they've unleashed. When Harry and Meghan's wedding anniversary arrived, the world braced for yet another PR circus. An overproduced Netflix-style photo dump, or maybe a carefully staged look at us were still relevant press release. Instead, there was nothing. No royal tributes, no glowing headlines, not even a pity party post from their Hollywood friends. The silence wasn't golden, it was deafening. And here's the irony. For a couple who once sold themselves as the dazzling rebels rewriting the rulebook, they've now faded into the background like yesterday's tabloid cover. Meghan, the self-styled Duchess of Disruption, couldn't even muster up a staged Instagram moment to prove her fairy tale was still intact. Harry, meanwhile, looked less like a prince and more like a man realizing his great royal exit ended in a California cul-de-sac.
She is so odious, it's beyond belief.
Absolute media manipulation. But I thought tonight this was really ridiculous. These are two really...
The very couple who demanded the world's attention now found themselves ignored. Their anniversary reduced to a footnote no one cared to read. And if the silence wasn't humiliating enough, it set the stage for something far worse. Because when the camera stopped clicking and the headlines stopped flattering, Angela Levin stepped forward with a revelation so sharp it cut deeper than any insult ever could. When Angela Levin spoke, the royal world stopped pretending everything was fine. She didn't whisper, she didn't hedge, she detonated. With the precision of someone who has watched the royals for decades, Levin dropped a bombshell that ripped straight through the glossy facade Harry and Meghan had been clinging to. She suggested what millions had already suspected but never dared to say aloud. Archie and Lilibet's parentage may not be as straightforward as the Sussex brand would like the world to believe. Suddenly, the couple who built their empire on our truth found that truth weaponized against them. And the timing couldn't have been worse. Their credibility was already hanging by a thread after failed media deals, and Levin's claims turned that thread into a noose. Instead of the warm image of doing parents, whispers of surrogacy, secrecy, and deception began to take over. Levin didn't accuse with malice. She exposed with experience.
But if she hasn't had the children herself, or Harry hadn't been involved, then they can't be in the royal line. They have to have royal blood, those little ones. Without that, there's no chance of them becoming a member of the...
Framing her words as the question everyone else was too cautious to ask. Why were there no transparent hospital moments? No clear documentation? No visible adherence to centuries-old traditions that every royal mother before Meghan respected? The answer was silence. And silence in the world of royalty screams louder than any denial. Levin's bombshell wasn't just a rumor. It was a direct shot at legitimacy. The kind of accusation that can't be brushed off with a carefully staged Oprah special or a Netflix ad. It was the beginning of a scandal too large to hide behind palace gates or California fences. Prince Harry, once a soldier who claimed he could handle anything, suddenly crumbled at the mere suggestion that people wanted answers. Instead of stepping up with evidence to silence the whispers, he did what spoiled royals do best. He threatened to sue. That's right. The man who supposedly ran from the palace to escape toxic press now leans on lawyers like a crutch whenever the narrative slips out of his control. But the irony is delicious. Legal threats don't kill a rumor. They fertilize it. The minute Harry sent his fury flying in Levin's direction, the world didn't think, "Oh, poor Harry." They thought, "What is he hiding?" A real leader, a secure father, would have calmly put the speculation to bed with proof. Harry, he went red-faced and tantrum-ready, looking less like a future king's son and more like a celebrity caught lying on a late-night talk show. Meghan, his self-proclaimed warrior queen, was nowhere to be seen either, leaving Harry to swing his fists in the dark.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample or proof of delivery.
The harder he punched, the weaker he looked. And the cruelest part, every legal threat he threw only added oxygen to Levin's fire. In trying to silence her, he proved her point. He's terrified of the truth reaching daylight. Fury without facts isn't strength, it's desperation. And Harry's desperate rage didn't bury the story. It guaranteed it would spread like wildfire. The scandal hit its ugliest point with 3 little letters. DNA, the one thing that could end the speculation instantly. Yet Harry and Meghan treated it like kryptonite. Commentators, journalists, and even royal watchers who once defended them began demanding proof. Not gossip, not staged photos, not glossy Netflix footage. Cold scientific proof. And the silence from the Sussex camp said everything. The spotlight didn't fall on Archie this time. It fell squarely on Lilibet. Her very name, tied to the late Queen herself, was supposed to symbolize continuity and honor. Instead, it became the centerpiece of doubt. Whispers grew louder. Was Lilibet even Meghan's biological child, or just another carefully curated piece in the Sussex brand machine? The possibility alone was enough to rattle the idea of succession because without clear lineage, her place in the royal order is nothing but smoke and mirror.
In this case, about whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump, the fact is, Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie.
Meanwhile, Harry stomped and fumed like a man cornered, but he still refused the simplest way out. One test, one swab, one undeniable answer. Instead, he doubled down on secrecy, dragging Meghan into even deeper suspicion. And Meghan, she stayed silent, letting Harry fight like a man drowning while she clung to the shadows. Every unanswered demand, every dodged question, only confirmed what people already suspected, that the Sussexes have more to hide than they dare admit. DNA became the symbol of truth, and their refusal to confront it made the whispers roar louder than ever. For centuries, royal mothers followed an unwritten script. Give birth, step outside the hospital doors, and show the child to the nation that would one day follow them. Kate Middleton did it 3 times with poise. Exhaustion written across her face, but transparency shining through. Meghan Markle, however, threw that script straight in the shredder. Instead of honesty, she gave us smock and mirrors, vanishing acts, awkwardly staged photo ops, and a baby bump that seemed to play by its own rules. It was less royal duty and more reality TV season finale. And Harry, he stood grinning beside her like a clueless sidekick, hoping no one would notice the plot holes in their story. But people noticed. They noticed the secrecy, the odd angles of carefully released photos, the absence of medical bulletins that once reassured the public. Those gaps became fertile ground for the ugliest whispers, surrogacy, staged imagery, and a couple desperate to control a narrative they couldn't hold together.
Palace is being pressured to remove Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet from the UK's royal line of succession until the Duchess provides absolute proof that she popped out both babies herself.
Meghan, who sold herself as a champion of authenticity, became the face of artificiality. Harry, who once mocked the press for conspiracy theories, now looked like the star of one. By tossing aside tradition, they didn't modernize the monarchy. They undermined it. Every inconsistency, every dodged moment of honesty, became gasoline on the fire had lit. Instead of silencing doubts, their secrecy made them permanent suspects in a mystery of their own making. This is where the gossip ends and the danger begins. When Meghan and Harry chose secrecy over tradition, they didn't just break rules. They cracked the very foundation of royal legitimacy. A monarchy lives and dies on bloodline, on the unbroken chain of birthrights. By clouding their children's origins in mystery, the Sussexes put that chain at risk. Meghan, who once paraded herself as the modern face of royalty, now looks like the architect of its undoing. Her silence isn't strength, it's suspicion. Every time she refuses to speak, people don't see dignity, they see guilt. And Harry, the prince, who was born into privilege, but never carried the weight of it, now looks like a liability to the crown itself. His tantrums and threats only make him appear like a man protecting a fragile secret, not a proud father defending his family. The longer the Sussexes dodge transparency, the more the whispers of illegitimacy solidify into public belief. This isn't just about two children. It's about whether the monarchy itself can survive with heirs whose origins are doubted at every turn. And that shadow doesn't just follow Meghan and Harry, it follows the throne. Angela Levin didn't just drop her bombshell and walk away. She twisted the knife. She warned that if Harry dares drag this into a courtroom, the outcome could be catastrophic. Courtrooms don't bow to royal titles or celebrity contracts. They demand receipts, medical records, and yes, DNA. For a couple addicted to controlling the narrative, the idea of a judge forcing their truth into the light must be their worst nightmare. But Levin didn't stop there. She hinted she has more, much more tucked away like ammunition waiting to fire. And while Harry swings blindly at shadows, the real damage is happening in plain sight.
What I discovered was, of course, that she was hunting for a man in England from 2013 onwards, when her marriage had crashed and she couldn't find anyone in Canada at the time. And she wanted wealth and she wanted fame. And she targeted, there's no doubt, she targeted Harry.
Media giants once tripped over themselves to incusses. But now contracts are collapsing, credibility is evaporating, and the golden couple of Montecito is starting to look like a bad investment. Meghan, who styled herself as Hollywood royalty, suddenly finds doors closing. Harry, who thought his royal name guaranteed influence, is discovering it, guarantees nothing when the public stops believing. Levin's warning wasn't just personal. It was a spotlight on their unraveling empire. If the truth comes out in court, they won't just lose face, they'll lose everything. At the end of this storm, one truth remains. The future of Archie and Lilibet isn't just a private family issue. It's a constitutional fault line waiting to split wide open. Monarchies live and die on bloodline. It's the reason kings rise, queens reign, and dynasties survive. Without transparency, every royal title the Sussex children hold becomes a question mark. And a monarchy built on questions cannot stand. Meghan, who once branded herself as the modern savior of the crown, now looks like the very person undermining it. Her silence isn't noble. It's calculated and it reeks of avoidance. Harry, once the cheeky prince the world adored, has reduced himself to a man raging at shadows, waving threats instead of answers. He doesn't look strong. He looks scared. And nothing is more dangerous to the crown than a prince who seems afraid of the truth. If Parliament is ever forced to intervene, the fallout won't just scar Harry and Meghan. It could destabilize the institution itself. Imagine it. DNA tests, medical records, and legal cross-examinations dragging the royal mystique into the harsh light of a courtroom. One simple test could shut this all down. Yet, they treat it as if the truth itself would burn their empire to ash. Maybe that's exactly why they run. Because deep down, they know exposure could erase the last scraps of credibility they cling to. And if you think this scandal is jaw-dropping, you haven't seen the full picture. On Star Spotlight, we already broke down how Meghan and Harry's shiny media empire started crumbling long before Angela Levin's bombshell. Don't miss that video. It's the missing piece that shows just how deep this downfall really goes. Click now and you'll see exactly